TV, like just being there, like, because I still remember from my first time like watching it in person and how much I wanted to like keep doing shows like that. It's just
Yeah.
it's a different feeling.
Yeah, so this WrestleMania was my 15th WrestleMania. And I was telling my friend about it, and I was like, I think next year's Vegas or Minnesota. We're not sure yet, which, as of recording time, it's quote unquote hasn't been released yet, but Undertaker said it, so it has to be true. So it's going to be in Vegas. And they were like, "Oh, well, we would totally go to Vegas." And I was like, "Well, you don't have to go to actual WrestleMania if you don't want to." But they're like, "No, I would love to check it out." So I showed him one. I was just the size of it all. It was the first night or the second night match one, and I was just like, just watch the size of like when they pan out and show the entire stadium. They're like, "Holy shit, is it really that big?" I was like, "Yeah, it's that massive now."
They
But they went,
legit fill all the seats too. Like when people see it, they're just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, they come from all
yeah,
around the world for this. Like this is the
yeah.
biggest weekend of the year.
I always wish I had all the money in the world and all the time in the world to watch every single bit and meet everybody when it comes to WrestleMania weekend, but it is just so packed and it's basically a week long that it's not possible.
Oh my God, it's so busy. And it's like trying to find time to do everything that you
Yeah.
want to do or for the shows that you're working. And it's a lot. And I feel, oh my God, I felt like I got like 4 hours of sleep each night that I was
Uh-huh.
there. It's very busy.
So how did the translation happen from, I mean, you're still a fan, but how from being the fan to, all right, well, how do I do the interviews or how do I do a ring announcing or how did you just get into the business in general?
So such a like it's a funny story how it all panned out to be. So when I started college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I went in like as like my gen eds, I went in as general like studies. So at least I was taking like my main courses, but I like still needed something. And at the time I was doing stuff on my YouTube channel, like just making wrestling content because it was just like fun. I was like, because I had been on like quote unquote stan Twitter like all of my high
Mm.
school years, and I just loved professional wrestling, and I just never wanted to be a wrestler. I can't take pain like they do, and have all the respect in the world for them for it because I know how much they put their bodies through for this. It was just something I never like that never like I was like okay. So when I started creating content and then I got approached by a news outlet, hey, like maybe we could try interviews with you. You're doing like your own content on your channel. We want to build up ours. Like, maybe we could try like interviews on our channel. Like, we'll give you a test. And I'm like, okay. And this was 2018. And we do the interview. And I remember thinking, oh, this was like really fun. They seemed to like it. So I was brought on. And I did that for a couple years with two sites. And then as I was ending college, and then I eventually then switched to communications. I felt it was a sign because I was between um, early childhood education and communications. And after I took a communication course at my one school, I was like, this is it. I just know this is it for me. And then this came about. I felt like everything was aligning and I was realizing what I wanted to do. I was like, I really like communications. I like talking to people. I just knew I was like, okay, I think I really want to do this. So I did it. I have my degree in bachelor's degree in communications with broadcast journalism and public relations. So I
Wow.
doubled, yeah, so I doubled up on concentration just in case of anything
You
because
went
I
hard in the
didn't want to
paint.
just, yeah, so, and I managed to graduate on time too. I was really surprised. So
Congratulations.
thank you. So from there, once I was ending, I remember thinking to myself, you know, as much as I like this side, like it's fun. I was like,
Hmm.
I want to see what interviewing actually is like, like backstage interviews and like
Hmm.
ring announcing. I was like, you know what? I'm ending school now. I was like, I have like more time to focus on that now, like on my weekends and stuff. Like I'm not gonna have all these projects like in schoolwork. I was like, you know what? if I don't try now, I might never know.
Right.
So I hit up a friend of mine in the business. I was like, "Hey, I really want to try this out." I said, "I know you're a broadcaster. Like, I really want to try bringing out singer interviewing. Like, could you give me some tips?" And I remember she asked me for just like a demo of something, and I sent it to her, and she's like, "You got like," she, critiqued me and stuff like that. She goes, "I think, all right, there's this company that I work out by you." She goes, "I think you would fit in perfect there. Like, let me talk to some people." And after I did that with them and I started working with them, and at the time that was Camp Leapfrog, and the girl was Sam Laterna. I
A
just
former guest of the show. That's yeah, I saw
Yes,
that on your on that was one of the companies where I was like, oh shit, I know that name.
yeah. So Sam Laterna, I reached out to Sam, and Sam was just, like, so helpful, put me in touch with Camp Leapfrog, and from there I started with them. And I go back, and every time I, like, look back at those, like, first interviews of me, and I'm like, "Oh my god," because I could critique myself so hard, but it was my first time. But
Right.
I'm so lucky they took a chance on me and kept me going, because I just was I continue to learn now, but I was learning and I continued to get better. And then I started working with more promotions, and it just kind of, then everything was starting to fall into place, and now I'm here. Sorry, that was a long answer to that question. If you couldn't tell, that's why I'm a broadcaster. I talk way too much.
This is a podcast. I feel like long stories are perfectly okay for this kind of medium. It's no big deal whatsoever. Well, so I wanted to kind of compare stories because so your first time backstage, I want to explain mine was just pure holy shit, I'm not supposed to be here. What am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to set up? I don't have anything. Like, is that kind of where your thought process was, or did they kind of already know what they were supposed to do with you and like already had your like either camera person or I mean what they were supposed to do with the interviews afterwards? Like were you kind of like the imposter syndrome in your head too, or how did all that work for you?
Well, my first time was like, I brought my own equipment just in case, because I
Hmm.
didn't know what I was walking into. And now,
Smart.
and like, as I've done this now for like going on, what, through almost 3 years technically in the independents, like, I
Mhm.
always bring my own equipment because
That's
nobody
smart.
really gives you anything.
Nope.
So, um, thank God they had a promo sheet for me, like, they knew what they
Oh
wanted,
wow.
and it was just, like, I think I was just really nervous because, like, I didn't know anybody. I only knew Sam because she was there. I
Hmm.
didn't really know anybody else, like, I wasn't really, and I was, like, nervous because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god, are these people gonna like me?" And I was very shy. I'm like, "I
Yeah.
don't know anybody." And, I thought, everything ended up going well, and, like, from there, like, they became that's my, in a sense, my home promotion. I started there, and they welcomed me with open arms, and I started working with, other, companies within then the network in a sense, and it's it's just insane. But then it's like when you start working, I think that's how you get at new promotions, like, especially when you don't know anybody, you get, like, shy, and you don't know what to do, and you wanna make sure you're doing a good job, like, because you wanna come back.
Hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely a we all see the people that do it backstage, where it could be WWE or AEW now or any other company that does the backstage interview person. But like, when you're doing it yourself, you're like, oh, what am I supposed to? It's almost like the Talladega Nights, like what am I doing with my hands? Like what I don't know what to do with
Oh
my
my
hands.
god, I didn't even know what to do with my hands the
Yeah.
first time. I think I kept it at my side, but then eventually, as I was studying more people, I noticed they put their hand behind their back. Like,
Hmm.
while they're talking, they use the hand, but then when other people are talking, you keep it behind the back. So I started doing that. I forget when I started doing that, but I continuously make sure I study, you know, um, Renee Paquette. Like, she's a big
Oh,
inspiration
Renee's
for
the
me because
best.
she did it all. She just was, oh, she's such a queen. And Lillian Garcia and Justin Roberts, like, when it comes to then ring announcing too, like,
Hmm.
I'd like to, like, watch everybody, see how everybody does their own thing. Kathy
Right.
Kelly, like, especially how they word their questions too, because you don't want to ask like the same thing, like, how are you feeling, what's your thoughts, like,
Oh,
you
I
want to
hate
like
those so
word it
much.
in the way. Yeah, so I make sure to pack as much information as I can in there, but without it being too long, and not like having just like these such generic questions all the time, especially like if the promoters don't give me like my own wrench here. They kind of don't know. I try to give whatever I can, the best I can for them.
Right. And then you're also, so it's not even just, I mean, yeah, it's for you, but it's mainly for the other talent to, it's like getting reps in. If they don't know how to cut a promo after a win or after a loss, then you're trying to help them as well. So then you're also the kind of bridge between stories of, or chapters even of like, okay, well, you either won or lost this match. What's going to happen in between now and, what are you trying to convey till your next match? And so then you're trying to help build that story. And again, if you don't have the promoter telling you what the next thing is supposed to be, you can't really help lead into that. And so you're like kind of just trying to create a story with them as well. And it's, not the kind of story that they were just telling in the ring, but it's something that they have to like sometimes physically, but for the most part, verbally really help people to bring them into their character and what that story of them in that company or in wrestling in general is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's literally all work in progress. Like it's literally everybody together when it comes to this.
Yeah.
And like I said, sometimes it happens where they don't have anything and you just
Mhm.
do your best to get whatever you need. And it ends up like most part, it does work out.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to working backstage and trying to do those interviews, and then also, you have your own YouTube show and you're making your own content and you're actually interviewing people in a longer form, how do you try to, like you said, you try to get as much information as you can in that tiny bit, but then when you actually have the time to let it breathe and stretch out, kind of like what we're doing right now, how do you feel like that's more relaxed as opposed to trying to fit everything in like a tiny little box?
Yeah, because then you could space it out between, like, so many questions, and you could
Right.
like, it's just so much, easier in a sense. Because then sometimes I do those interviews for, like, for example, for Brie Combination Wrestling, like, I was doing some with them before, like, some of our shows, and, like, it's easier because then we can feed into more with the story instead of just, "Hey, we need this, like, quick, under 2-minute interview just
Yeah.
about such and such," but here I can, like, talk about it more. We could discuss more details of certain things. So that's like pretty like then like a good thing to have.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, with your YouTube channel, like you said, you touched on it earlier with your vlog, which I think is was very funny. And also, would you peel an order for somebody? I think it needs to be something you ask everybody on a regular basis because that was hilarious.
Oh
Uh,
my god, because it was just such a meme on the internet,
yeah.
and we just decided, and I just listen. I knew to ask Darius Carter. Darius
Sure.
Carter. I listen as much as he picks on me when he's in character.
Mhm.
He's so fantastic, and I knew to go to him to ask him because I knew whatever he had in store for me was gonna be good.
And it was literally no words.
And I just laughed. I laughed. He didn't need to say anything, and that was it. Darius Carter, everybody.
Well, when it comes to your show, when you're interviewing other people, like from when it comes to Will Ospreay, Trevor Murdoch, Chelsea Green, Barrett Brown, what are some of your moments that one of your some of your favorite moments that you didn't expect? Because sometimes you have a kind of thought process when you're going into trying to talk to somebody, and then all of a sudden you guys can get on a conversation about stuff that you didn't even expect to happen, and it was just like, wow, that was amazing. I didn't think to, I think that was going to come up.
And that was like I miss doing stuff like that because at the
Mm,
end there, I was starting to just interview friends a
yeah.
lot, and it's nice because you never know what one of your questions will come of, like what story it will lead to, and what other questions that you might have to come from it. And that's like the cool part about it. And you get to hear their stories and what's their wrestling life like in the past and the present. Like it's just so interesting to hear their stories of what's going on in their lives. And I love that. Like I love to hear that. Like cuz I know cuz I've like been through it and I have stories and
Mhm.
I love to hear that.
I love always hearing those too. Now, I mean, since you do travel so much for, your work, making the dates and everything, what is a must have in your travel bag when you are traveling?
Oh. definitely, a pen and
Smart.